Today's episode is supported by the Kranzberg Arts Foundation. The Kranzberg Arts Foundation provides essential infrastructure and venues for creatives to thrive in St. Louis because the soul of a city is shaped by its arts. Go to KranzbergArtsFoundation.org to explore some of St. Louis's finest dance, art, music, and more in the amazing Grand Center neighborhood. Now, here's Coach Jen with today's Soccer Mom Sunday.
Whoa! Good morning. I never know what you're going to roll in with, JB. Like sometimes it's slow roll. This one's hey, put a little something extra in your coffee.
Do you know this one?
I feel like I do. But I don't know the names. I'm not good with names.
It's in honor of springtime.
Yeah.
Push the little daisies.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, Soccer Mom Sunday at Mellow Mushroom Sunset Hills. Pushing some daisies.
Yeah.
And it's actually
And
fairly
watch 'em
warm
come
out today with the day we're recording. So you never know because the day it plays, it could be butt cold.
I know.
You don't know.
No, it's just, we feed off the moment. My eyeballs are telling me it's springtime. Been on a run here. Really kind of pumping out episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we do it once a week, but we got a little backlog.
We do, which is good for like days that we want to not do it.
Here you go. Here it is.
There you go.
I actually hate this song.
I only
but it
know
just
that line, just so you know.
I think that's what everybody was like, oh no, I know the chorus.
Yay! But I think you need to tell us how today almost didn't happen. Because somebody doesn't maybe pay attention to his calendar.
No.
What?
No, imagine that.
It was scheduled, and then it was unscheduled, then scheduled again.
Well, a couple things I'm going to point out. I don't control the calendar.
Hey, don't be shit-talking the people who control the calendar.
No. I'm accepting
Listen,
that fact.
Okay.
I have the simpler job. Read the calendar. Right? I don't make it. I don't populate it. I don't manage
I
it.
hate that job.
My one job is to read it whenever a question/conflict arises. And I didn't do that. So
Thankfully, our guest was very flexible because I was like, we can't do it. No, we can. Can we do Thursday? Never mind. No. Can we redo it again? We're back on Friday.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because, like, for me personally, as I age gracefully, I tend to reduce my electronic communications. I mean, I hate talking on the phone, right? It's just one of those
I don't
things.
have conversations on the phone.
It's like, why call me? Just text me, and then I might reply.
I
I'm kind of at that
keep
point.
like replying to my text to you. I'm like, hey, so what'd you think of ?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to type more letters. Just reply with question mark. That emphasizes the point. But anyway, my point is, like, I complain at other people, like, well, just email me or text me. So then when it comes to the calendar, I always say, look, just send me a calendar invite, which is exactly what you did. So I've fallen on the sword on this one.
Hey,
so I apologize to our guest who's
not at
listening in. Like,
I thought
he probably was like, you guys are rookies.
Yeah, well,
you should see our team calendar.
Yeah.
It's organized.
Well, I have to. I mean, I don't. We should probably just pull him in early because I think it's fair to let Chad know. Chad Otec is with us. Chad from Fusz, and also my daughter's coach. She would like you to know that any words that come out of my mouth are not hers, and please not let it affect her playing time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Mo, as the team calls her, and I can't do it, but as Mo as the team calls her, because your buddy Jake could not say her name. That's the funny thing. The reason she got Mo is because he couldn't say Marin.
I didn't know that. My first impression of Mo is this good player from a small club, Oakville United, and he talked about her all. Jake and I used to live together, and he used to talk about Mo and Marlo all the time, and he couldn't say either of their names. So,
and they're very similar.
Yeah,
and
Marin
they
and
look alike.
Marlo. So.
And they look alike, and they almost run exactly alike. So you get two blonde ponytails bebopping out there. You just don't know who you're looking at.
Yeah, well, I've noticed that lately, like on both the girls and the boys' side, the universal haircut on each side of the fence has now fully taken over. The girls are all pulling the ponytail tight, and
Yeah, we
some
know.
will
Get
put
your
extra
hair
bands.
out of your face.
Yep, totally
That's
get
what
that.
Now the slick back is taken over.
Yes.
And the
Mara-
bubble braids.
For sure.
And then-
I don't do bubble braids.
And
so-
then on the boys' side, I'm sure you've noticed everybody wants to look like Caden Glover, where they got that
Yes.
that flop
because I
right down in the
swear
middle of
if
their eyeballs.
Liam adjusts his hair one more time in a game, I'm like, listen, I'm going to man bun you or ponytail up on the top like
Yeah.
Nate does at Fusz. you can't. He's like, I don't play with it, so I videotaped him and I just cut clips. I'm like, this
It's
is how many
awful.
times you jerked around with
I
your
wish
hair.
they would just all go Slim Shady.
It would be easier.
Just zip it, dye it blonde. That'd be great.
And just,
Be
yeah.
like an army of little M&Ms everywhere.
Right on the field. That would be intimidating to see across the pitch. Just a bunch
I
of
would
buzz
wonder.
cuts.
Like if I was a kid walking out, like, holy shit.
Who are these people? Who are these
What
people?
did we get ourselves into?
It was like when I played in high school. That's what it was. We played Cape Notre Dame. They were like a powerhouse down south, and they all had their heads shaved and dyed blonde for the playoff run. It was terrifying.
We did that one time in college. I was a grunge kid back in the mid 90s, right? And we all did we shaved up to the rim, and then everything on top was like Kurt Cobain long.
Hung on your
Everyone,
face.
yeah, oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't pull it back, so it all just flopped like a
Yes.
concert.
Yeah, I had that.
It was awful.
When I coached the boys for Oakville United, and some of it was CYC, they were going through a phase where it was a little bit longer, so they were always doing the flip. They're flipping it out of their
Yeah.
face, and I was like, so I brought a bunch of hair ties. I'm like, listen, girls have long hair, I get that, but we pull it out of the way. If you can't pull it out of your face, you can't
Yeah.
see the ball, then you're flipping it around all the time.
So-
How are you going to get the ball?
So I would like to thank Mel Mushroom for hosting us, and today's episode is brought to you by Google Calendars and Great Clips. It's about time to get into some soccer.
Look at your notifications.
yeah, your calendar.
I also want to let our so what you don't know yet is maybe on the Sunday that drops Estella Hunter and Hilda Taylor, we should talk to you a little bit for fun.
Oh.
We're sorry.
That's
But
this Sunday.
We just bagged on you about the calendar.
I was about to, that's funny. When he said the calendar, I'm like, if there's one thing that
I'm not
might not be the most buttoned up at
I'm not
LFA
saying that
app,
was
it's
on
our calendar.
purpose.
Okay.
It came
Wink,
out,
wink.
and so they were like, "Is Chad gonna listen?" So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna tell him just so he knows." We're like, "Update the calendar, Chad. I don't care about your email."
March 31st
We're
episode.
sorry.
There you
We're
go.
Sorry.
I will say that LFA app calendar is the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
So I'll say I just added a game to the 2010s one yesterday, and it says, if this was not successfully added, but then I get an email saying you've added an event, and then I add it again, and now there's two, and I'm like, what's going on here?
And then his parents were like, "Chad."
I'm glad that was intentional, because when you said the calendar, my mic was muted, and I was like, I don't know.
That's on me.
Yeah, we're sorry. So yeah, the calendar, especially when you have 4 kids and my oldest two, like Marin and George, who are 17 and 15, are pretty good now at adding, but like George will add stuff and he doesn't add an alert to it. And I'm like, put like an hour reminder ahead, because he's like, oh, I missed my haircut. I'm like, put an alert on it. Like he doesn't know what he's doing. But then for the young ones, they just look and see. And
Well-
so our life lives and died by calendar. It's got to be in there, or we might not be there.
Well, Apple's making it a lot easier. You just say, hey, Siri, right?
Yeah. You better not say that
Do
too
this.
loud on my
I know.
phone.
I just hold on. Let me check. Good.
She's listening.
I whispered. Yeah. Anyway, so enough of organizational management
Yeah.
here. Chad, apparently you like the game of soccer.
Yes,
You're pretty close to it, huh?
Yeah, obsessed with it.
Why don't you, for the listeners that are not familiar, a little background, a little 101, the homestead,
You played a little, I think.
the early
probably.
games,
Yeah.
the college. Walk us through a little timeline so we can set the table.
Yeah, my playing career is what I like to talk about the least, because it's not super highfalutin, but played at 3 different universities, graduated from Missouri Baptist University in 2017. My sophomore year of college is when I actually started working at Fusz Athletics, so I was just entering my sophomore year. I was 19 years old. So when I transferred to MoBap, that's when I started working at Fusz. So at the time, I thought the world was crashing down on me and had to transfer to a different university. My credits weren't transferring. It was a nightmare. And then ended up working rec camps at Fusz Athletic, and kind of the rest is history. Post-college, I bounced around a couple of low-level, like semi-pro leagues, trained with STLFCs, U23s for a summer. Broke my leg in 2018, and that's when I was like fully just into coaching.
Yeah, you're like, playing anymore is not.
Yeah, I was
feasible.
playing in the U.S. Open Cup, and just
He broke in a
good,
game?
good buddy of mine. He'll laugh if he listens to this, but fractured my femur, and
Oh my
that was
God.
it. So
Was
No
it-
friends on the field, Samuel Adeniran says.
Yeah, no. Was it unexpected, or did you see the car crash coming?
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't a. Well, that's what's funny. The doctor's like, you normally only break your femur when you get in a car crash. It was just kind of a freak accident. Is kind of what the doctors explained to me. Is he gave me a little nudge, and my cleat got stuck in the ground, and we both just kind of. It was a compression fracture. It's not like it snapped in half or anything. So my knee and my.
I can still hear it in my head.
Still, the femur. That's a tough one.
But no, I mean, I was never going to have a super high-profile playing career. I was a very late developer in terms of a player. I loved basketball growing up. So as we get into talking about high school athletes here shortly, I'm sure I was the high school basketball kid who was in the gym at 6 a.m. getting up 500 threes. That was what I was passionate about when I was in high school. Wanted to play college basketball. And then my senior year, I just decided to switch it up and went to a local community college. And so I didn't really start getting passionate about soccer until I was probably 17, 18 years old.
No way!
Which may be why I'm still obsessed with it.
Well, where did you grow up? Let's kind of put some geography to this.
Yeah, Crystal City, Missouri. So I went to St. Pius X High School.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not. That's not a soccer mecca.
No.
It's more Big Two. I'm assuming basketball, football, maybe baseball as well. Soccer obviously was a fall sport. I mean, was there? Did you have a crew of buddies that were like that soccer crew, within your community, or were you an outlier from the get-go?
I mean, so my dad's family is very much a soccer family. My dad went to Germany when he was 19 and trained with Stuttgart in Germany. He was a college All-American. My dad was a really good player. So soccer was always something that my family grew up in, and we had our local CYC team and all that. And that's one of the reasons I went to St. Pius is because Crystal City didn't have a soccer team, still doesn't. So I had my share of soccer friends, but I would say the access to the club game was what was really hard for me, right?
Yeah.
So I have 2 older brothers, 2 younger sisters. We were all pretty good athletes, all were capable of playing on travel teams, and my parents were just like, nah, we can't afford this, we're not doing it.
Well, the travel teams would have been just as consuming because at that distance, what's the closest? Maybe
I played
Cape?
for Bush
you
for
came all
a
the way
couple
up.
of years, so I mean that's about a 35-minute drive from us, but
that's not bad.
It was more so, again, I had 2 older brothers. My oldest brother played AAU basketball. Kyle played select soccer as well. My 2 sisters, big volleyball players. But yeah, it was just kind of a small town, so you were just expected to kind of do everything. I'm sure we'll talk about that later too. So it was I played baseball, I played basketball, I played soccer, and I was adequate at all of them. I was pretty good at all of them growing up. I was a good athlete.
Cool. So what drew you to soccer? What just...
Honestly, it was injuries. I kept rolling my ankle playing basketball. I missed most of my senior year.
But those high tops don't help.
Yeah,
Come on.
I actually went to commit to play
Wait,
soccer.
you think soccer's going to be better for rolling your ankle? Is it better?
I didn't roll them playing soccer. I was in a cast every summer of my high school life. I kept rolling my ankles, and I knew Ricky Garza from my brother playing for him at Jefferson College, and I rolled my ankle in a basketball game in February of my senior year, and I drove to Jeffco in my basketball jersey and told Ricky I wanted to play soccer for him next year.
That's great.
How I ended up playing college soccer.
I don't think we've ever had a story like that.
No, I mean your path is being led by Ace Bandage.
Yeah. But no, so I was super passionate when Ricky was a great mentor for me. My first coach that really introduced me to, he was pretty buttoned up tactically. Training sessions were really good, and again, I didn't have that much access to it. And the club scene was so much different back then, anyway. When I was playing club soccer.
Well, Ricky came from a Hill family. I mean, his grandpa was big in the old Hill crew, right? The post 1950 team. So he came from a deep tradition soccer family. So it doesn't surprise me, because he's still, I think he's got the USL team, correct?
Yep. I actually texted with him yesterday about a player on the team.
Yeah, coaching high school as well. So he's got his fingers in the game everywhere.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about your college career. You mentioned you started working Fusz's camps, the rec camps. Why Fusz? Was it logistics? Was it easy? Did you know somebody? Because obviously in this landscape, there's 50 clubs to choose from.
It was Marty Pike was the one who got me in at Fusz Athletic. So Kyle, my brother, who's 2 years older than me, was working the camps, and they were short workers, and asked me to show up, and the rest is history. I just stayed there. It was very flexible with my class schedule and game and training schedule, so it was one of those things you could show up and make $50 in an hour working a camp on 2 camps back-to-back on a Friday night when you weren't playing, and then you could do one on Sunday morning. And at the time, I was like, oh, $150, $250 a week, like while I'm playing soccer, is great.
Yeah. I always think of the soccer clubs, Fusz, Gallagher, the big clubs in particular. They remind me of Home Depots on Saturday mornings, where you have the crew of workers standing at the edge of the parking lot, just waiting for homeowners to drive past saying, do you need help?
Yeah.
Like the clubs have all the guys like yourself, it's just a load, which is really a testament to soccer as a, within the community here. It's huge.
Yeah. And when I first ran into you, actually, it was Marin was playing for Oakville United, dual rostering with Chen. And I think Liam was just coming with us as she was training, and you were training a group of young boys. And I was like, and he was just like, Liam, he was chomping at the bit. I'm like, well, can I ask him if you can train a little bit? And then you were teaching all the moves. You were doing, I think at the time, Super 7. Maybe the Shifty Six.
Before it was Super 7. That was before all the Gallagher guys came over.
But he was like entranced with all the kids kind of going through. He loves that stuff. He can't do moves enough. And so Liam kind of slid in there with Chad. And here's this young guy. And I'm like, he looks like a lot of fun. But you had the boys before you had the girls, right?
Correct. I believe that was right before the pandemic.
It was.
That's when I fully switched over to the girls' side. So I had our Academy 2011 boys and I had our Blue Star Premier 2010 boys. So I had our second team at 2010, our top team at 2011, and then I was still coaching the 05 girls. So I was just kind of doing a bit of everything at that point in my career.
Yeah. Huh.
So.
I've always wondered why a club hasn't gone from the Shifty 6, Super 7 to just the top 2. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Just pick 2 moves.
Pick 2. There's one that you're really good at, and one just in case that one didn't work.
Well, when you see it at the highest levels, there's very few dribbling combinations being performed. But I will say it definitely helps with coordination, and it actually helps with their cognitive ability as well, because they're saying what comes next, right? There's 1, then 2, then 3. Like now we're talking 7 actions in a very short amount of time that you have to remember up here as well. But yeah, even the girls, like when I'm going 1v1 actions with them, it's more so like slow them down, speed them up. Like slow them down, push the ball by them. You know what I mean? Just take one big touch to get your strike
that's
or your pass
Marin's move.
up.
Slow it down, burst by.
Yeah,
that's her one move.
No, I mean, a little dude by the name of Messi, that is his move.
That's right.
It's just change of pace.
And it's funny because all defenders know what's coming, and they still can't get him.
Right.
You know what's going to happen. It's not new.
No, it's funny. Well, I want to ask your opinion, because we literally just spoke with Sasha Bauer from over at City Futures. Came over. He's one of Lutz's old friends, right? And in our conversation along the lines of what we're discussing, he made the comment. He's like, a lot of American kids are no different than the global powerhouse nations, in so much that athletically they're just as fast. They're probably a little stronger, for whatever reason, but technically, tactically, their passing, shooting, dribbling are all fine. He goes, their problem is they don't know when to do it.
Right.
So I want to ask your opinion from a coaching perspective. How do you shift from that progression of moves, that getting the brain to think about technical skills and getting their ambidextrous nature on the feet moving, to now's the time to do it?
Right. I would say a lot of that is innate. Like in European, they're watching it. In Europe, sorry, not European. In Europe, they're watching it all the time. Right. They're growing up watching. A reference, Connor Armstrong. Right? Like grew up watching Steven Gerrard ping a ball, and when he was doing it, where he was doing it, the texture. I've been really hard on the 08s about the texture of their final pass lately. Like some of that is we try to pound it into their brains at training. I really try to split the field up into thirds and then vertical channels and say, okay, these are your actions from this channel, these are your actions from this one, right? And I don't want to create robots either, so it's try A, B, or C when you're in this spot, and then if those three aren't on, then make
I always think of the simplicity of the NFL Combine as a comparison. When you watch the quarterbacks in particular, when we talk about weighted passes, because that's really what we're talking about whenever they move the ball off their feet, right? At the Combine, whenever you have they'll have all the receivers just running straight across the field, and and the quarterbacks are hitting them in route, and then obviously the fun part, the long ball. Soccer players at training the majority of the time, like that within the flow of a game, even at the highest levels, the MLS Next Academies, we see it all the time, that is lacking. So, what you're talking about, how do you get kids to watch more or think about, that chess process?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? You can ask them to do it as much as you'd like. I mean, you guys talked about it on your interview with Langley. You asked her about Alex Pfeiffer and just how much the women's game has grown, and the accessibility to it is crazy compared to when I was in college. There's no way I could have ever found a women's game to watch on TV. Like I could, when I was growing up, like I'm an Arsenal fan. I didn't become an Arsenal fan until I was like 18.
Well, that was a short interview.
I knew what was going to happen. I'm like, oh God.
But people ask me all the time. I'm like, I became an Arsenal fan because I liked playing with Thierry Henry on FIFA when I was 12 years old.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Not because I watched them, because I didn't have access to watch them. So, I mean, the access is there now, right? So it's
getting better. I mean, I'd like to see it a little bit more, but that's just me.
Yeah.
It's coming. I think Lori Kolupny's talked about the fact that she made her decision to go where she went for school. Right, she went to North Carolina because the one game you could see was the final, and she and her dad would watch it, and so she basically was like, "I want to go to that school."
Yep.
But she's like, "I don't know what I would have chosen if I'd been able to see all these kinds of games." Of course,
right.
So it was a good decision, obviously, for her. But yeah, the ability to flip the game on and just have it in the background. It's getting. There's more on the men's side too, but I think it's getting there with the women. I'd like to see more on the traditional media versus, socially, or trying to find Ion, I think, is coming out with stuff. So you just have to kind of know, it's like, where can I find this damn game?
And they're also they're kids, and I don't think they fully understand how much it will help them. I think that's part of the challenge as well. Like, I may have misunderstood, but you said your son has access to game film and all this stuff all the time.
Oh, every day.
Is he, how much is he utilizing that tool?
Yours uses it a lot.
Yeah, he's, and this is going to sound precocious, and I don't mean it to be, but he is one of those kids. He's like an Alex Pfeiffer.
Okay.
The challenge to him is always the improvement. It's always to learn. It's always like he watches film not so he can see his great head ball. He doesn't talk about it. He talks about the poor distribution or spacing and I don't know. You can't teach that kind of interest.
Liam's the same way.
But I think what it does present an opportunity. Kids don't watch themselves, to see, are you even moving? It doesn't even have to be, did you make the right pass or the right play or whatever it is. It's like we watch a lot of really, really high level midfielders, attacking midfielders, nines that stand still off the ball. Well, watch a pro game. I don't care if it's men's or women's, etc. You will never see a number 9 standing still.
Right.
So it's things like that.
Yeah. And I would say, for the girls' side, at Fusz, I can see how often they're in huddle. I can see their activity, how often they're logging into their huddle accounts.
Yeah.
For them, I try to just get them to watch. To long-winded answer your question is, how do we get more of it? Like, for the younger ones and their IDPs and their evals, like I have 2010s, I'm like, pick a kid on the 08s. Pick a kid on the U19s, right? Somebody who is by the same coach as you, who wears the same jersey as you.
Emulate them.
And start there. And then if you want to watch a college game, start, it's two teams playing per kickoff slot in the GA. So if the U19s play right after our U13s and 14s, great. You have kids who have achieved the same goals that you've said you want to achieve, right? I ask them what their goals are. They say, I want to play at this university. I'm like, great, so-and-so on our U19s is going there. She might even wear the same number as you. Same jersey, same coach, same platform. Watch her first. And then, once we've watched her a couple times, maybe we pick up something beneficial. Then, hopefully they want to do that because it's cool. And then now maybe I can get them watching it on TV a little bit.
So I'm going to bail Jen out here, and I'm going to ask the parent question direct since she's a parent of a child on one of your teams.
I'm not a problem. Yeah.
And that is managing expectation, not from the player, because the kids are always going to go through their cycles of great game, bad game, good game, bad game, great, all that stuff, right? But parents tend to look in a very vertical, myopic view where, they're great, they're always great. How do you, as a coach at the GA level, obviously the top level within the girls' landscape, how do you manage parent expectation, or do you actively engage parents to help manage? This is where Sally is at, or whatever. How do you juggle that?
Right, Sally's making a comeback, wasn't she, on your one with Lauren Kaiser?
Yeah, with the Twelman sisters.
Yeah.
Susie. It was Susie.
Oh, Susie.
Susie.
Okay,
Susie. So Susie
no,
has a sister named Sally.
Sally's Susie's sister.
Yeah,
apparently Susie didn't deserve to be on the field.
Yeah, according to the Twelman sisters, Susie needs to go home.
So let's talk about Sally, who's got talent.
I would say, honestly, I will compliment our set of parents in the program, and I'll compliment the club in the same explanation is I don't have that many problem parents. I have very, very few, and within the 6 age groups. Now, in the parent group chats that I don't see, they might light me on fire. But you have to
just about the calendar.
Exactly.
not being in those group chats, I can tell you definitively, yes, they are.
Yeah. So I would say though, yes, I get an email with crazy, unrealistic expectations, maybe 1 or 2 per season. I try to be very clear that this is an academy, and I think that's part of it. It's not supposed to be for everybody. It's an academy. It's a high-level platform, and we are also rather successful within the academy that we play in. Right, we are sending teams to national quarterfinals, semifinals, finals every single year, and we're pumping out a lot of Division I college soccer players. And I try to do a very good job of explaining to everybody that is hard. It's very hard, and it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. It's rather cutthroat, and especially there's kids who want to be in your spot. There's a lot of kids that want to play at Fusz Athletic for the Girls Academy program. The way we do IDPs and evals every year, so where we're saying this is where you're efficient, this is where you're deficient, this is your plan of action. And again, the 08's a rather successful group.
Yeah.
I just kind of ripped their heads off after one of their games in Jefferson Cup because I was like, okay, who's done their plan of action? It's been 6-7 weeks since I've met with you guys, and a couple hands went up, and I'm like, well, why do your parents pay the money, right? Why if you're gonna sit here and listen to me, because at the end of the day, you're trusting our Girls Academy staff for your child's development. Those parents are sacrificing a lot for their kids, and if they're not gonna do the 4 simple steps that we ask them to do in 8 weeks' time to keep their spot on the group, or to just do better and do well because we want them to have success within their platform, then they're not going to meet their expectations.
Yeah, a little quid pro quo.
Yeah.
They got to do their part.
And then I always try to explain it as, and parents, they all love their kids. Well, I'm not a parent, so I don't know that, but I would assume
There are days.
Sometimes.
There are days.
They all want they all want what's best for their child, but I always try to explain it as there's a player-centric approach to my program. That's each individual player. And then there's a team-centric approach. There's what's best for the player, then there's what's best for this team, and then there's what's best for the entire program, right? In terms of guest playing players up to maybe get a result so that our club can get Champions Cup status,
you did that once, and I heard some Twitter about it. It was a good call, actually. It was a great call.
It's really rare that you can accomplish all 3 of those things with a decision without upsetting one of them, right? You can't always be focused on the player without hindering the team. You can't always be focused on each individual team without harming one of the individuals on that team or maybe the entire program. And you can't really focus on the entire program without harming maybe one team or one individual on a team. So as long as people understand that, like, I hate upsetting kids. I think anyone who's a coach and doesn't hate disappointing a young kid who has a dream is a bad person probably. But I try, and we try. And when we have our meetings, we discuss it in depth and we try to make the best decision for individual player, team, and the entire program.
Sure.
But isn't that part of it too? Like so especially, so I'll talk about the 08s. Marin's an 08. She's a freshman. Half of her team are sophomores. Many of them want to go play in college. It's not fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you already know it doesn't matter which division level you play. It is not fair. You may go and be the most talented person. Your ass may sit on the bench. Why not practice a little unfairness right now? Like, let them deal with the fact that whatever, where, 09 got called up to play and, she's taking time away from, that's how it would happen in college. So let's practice that.
And in the business world.
And in the business world, right, where you don't always
cetera.
get the job because you're the most qualified, where things don't always happen. So it's interesting because I find as parents, and I'll call my side. I'm on that side now. I don't coach anymore on the coach's side, but where we are sometimes we want that level, but as parents we're not willing to accept what comes along with that, and that means it ain't fair, right? It's not rec where it's like you get your 10 minutes and you get your 10 minutes and you get your 10 minutes. No, this is sometimes your ass sits because somebody's doing better than you, and maybe she's a year younger than you, and too freaking bad.
Well, let me ask a question. All these things considered, you personally, if you had to prioritize or rank your priority, is it player development? Is it winning? Is it fun culture? Is it, the Fusz has its mission statement? Is it to live up to whatever that mission statement is? Like, how do you, Coach Otec, prioritize all of those things? Because you can't say all of them are equally important because there's a process.
Yeah, I would say for me and the club, our club's mission is to be the best youth development club in the Midwest. So, youth development. I would say for me personally, I agree with that. I'm very focused on developing the individual. I always do either unopposed technical work at the start of every training session or go straight into some type of 1v1 activity. So there's always that individual getting better before we focus on the team. And I've also had many opportunities to go to the college game, and I will tell anybody is I don't want to do that because I don't want to focus on just getting results. I like developing a group of U14s and a group of U16s and a group of I really that's what I'm passionate about is I would call myself a soccer purist. I like to have the ball. I like to have the ball but be very forward thinking. Like, I'm very passionate about what my teams do and how they play, and sometimes she'll tell you we just lost a really big game, making 2 mistakes out of the back that we never make, and we played really well in that game. And does it sting losing? But hopefully, right? Hopefully we get them next time.
We're inching closer to the Nationals.
Exactly.
Let me ask just a quick follow up to that. If player development, and kind of the pure side of player development is a primary focus, how do you manage that in the context of a parent's perception of ROI? And what I mean by that is they're paying to play. They're paying for the kid to play, right? And I don't mean that in minutes, but they're paying for the club. And most parents have this expectation that the development is going to lead to X, which is usually a college scholarship or a college offer, or
it might.
I know that, but like knowing the parents think that, and that's at their frontal lobe, where the kids are probably like way more into just competing.
Right.
How do you approach that?
Yeah, so I try to follow we have an intake document. Hope you've read it. Look through it.
Yes, sir.
When you want to,
did you sign it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. When you want to rip my head off, I hope you would take a look at it and see the processes in place.
You've not heard from me yet.
But if we make a commitment to put you on a team in the girls' academy, then we are making a commitment to develop you, right? And so I try to live by giving every kid at least 33% of minutes every game. I always put a disclaimer out that there are a a small handful of games a year. I would say maybe less than 10% of our schedule. You're talking national quarterfinal, semifinal, final,
right,
and maybe a Champions Cup semifinal, final. So those 5 games of the X amount we're going to play this year, like, I will go for a result in those games. Now, if I'm 2-2 with a local crosstown rival in a friendly, I'm not going to...
I bet I know who you're talking about.
I'm not going to keep so-and-so on the bench because I want to get that result, right? I'm going to make sure that kid gets there 15 minutes a half at least. And a lot of those moments where, sometimes we blow some teams out in our conference and our league.
Yep.
If I just played a national semifinal, or I shouldn't say that. If I played a big game where I didn't get everybody, maybe I got a kid 30%, I try to get them 50 the next game. And if I look back at evals and IDPs and we're watching it back and we're like, hey, we missed this, then we do have a responsibility to then move that kid down a team, because we don't want to put any young athlete in a situation where they're drowning, and they're failing. We don't want that.
Yep.
And so that's kind of how I live by it. Is we made a commitment to this kid. We try to reach that, and it's a lot of money too. So if you flew out to Texas, right, for a 3-day weekend and you're playing 3 games, like, you should expect that your kid's going to be on the field at least 30 minutes of that game, every single game.
Right. One of the things I liked that I hadn't been in was this past, George has been to one and I've been to one where you've done the IDPs with the kids. And so sat in with Marin, who I thought it was great, who, my daughter was like, you're like, so do you want to play college? She's like, yes. And do you have any ideas? And she's like, yep, UCLA. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
and she's a good player, but I loved how realistic that you were with asking questions that I don't think I would have known to ask her, or she hasn't been thought about, was, do you want to play your first year? And she looked at you like you had 4 eyes.
Right.
She's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, a lot of times in a program like that, a freshman will not play. You won't touch the field maybe until you're a junior.
Right.
They have that much talent. And what kind of life do you want to have? What kind of camaraderie? What kind of setting? Where do you want to be? When she's like, I want to be on a coast. Okay, fine. But, there are other really good colleges. Right. And I really enjoyed that process. So I didn't know if you wanted to speak about that a little bit, that kind of setting their expectations and maybe asking questions that they wouldn't normally ask themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're about to do a 3rd round of those for the girls who stuck around with me this spring. But it's to do just that. It's to try to, because every kid wants to go to UCLA or North Carolina, right? Or and they don't know.
She wants a beach, Chad.
Surf or ski, coach.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. Little Jerry Maguire.
But, so the college-aged IDPs that I do are, those were, to give you some background, I started with the 2023 class, and I was 3 years younger than I am now, and I had not a single relationship with a college coach. And so it was very much like I started it from the ground up, right? So cold calling colleges saying, hey, I have some quality here, please come out. GA was new. Fusz Athletic was a USYS club that wasn't pumping out a lot of college.
Yeah.
Good. We have some great alumni, but it just wasn't very consistent. And so I was like, okay, how can I kind of streamline this for the athletes? And it's during one of the meetings, it was always the second one, the one leading into closer to the recruiting cycle. It was just pick their brain. Okay, do you, some of the questions I asked is Missouri first or St. Louis first. Do you want to go to school in St. Louis? Yes or no? Okay, great. No. Missouri. Yes or no? No. Okay, Midwest.
Right.
And then after that, it's flight or drive is usually the question I ask. Do you want to have to hop on a plane to come home if you have 2 days off?
Right.
Or do you want your parents to have to hop on a plane to watch you play? And so that alone will start. I mean, it eliminates
her
a lot.
eyes got
of school,
real wide.
You know what I
It
mean?
was
It's
like,
I have my off days on a Friday, and we don't have a game this weekend, so I have 4 days. Well, if you have to hit a connecting flight and travel, it's like, ugh. And it's hard about the money.
You should start with the parent budget and just redline through 80% of the choices.
And so then after that, I go into the questions of, because all kids like to play, right? We just talked about playing time and that.
Yeah.
So if you want to show up and you hate being on the bench, then don't look at schools who won their conference and started 12 juniors.
Right.
Sorry, can't start 12 players, but 11 juniors.
Right.
Like, you're not going to play. They're winning. They have kids who have been there, and then so I always say, okay, well, if you want to play right away, maybe look at a school that went 500, finished middle of their conference. They're trending upwards. You want to be in a good program, but go to a school that's trending upwards and they're graduating out 2 or 3 players in your position now, and you like the culture and it fits with the distance from home. Like, now we're starting to check more than one box, right? And so it's just those questions. And the last one I got a little more goofy with, like, girls care about what color uniforms they like the clubs wear or the college programs wear or what brand they are. Like, I have so many girls who are like, I am not going. Why did we switch from Nike to Adidas at Fusz? Like,
Germany just did. What's happening?
I want to go to a Nike. Cool.
Are you kidding me? They're not picking for that. Stop it.
I always tell them that should be in there.
No.
I don't think that's exclusive to girls.
Really?
I think that is a kid, teenage.
What are you doing?
I swear to God.
See, this has happened when we started changing cleat colors from black to many colors.
I'm with you there. I wore the black on black Puma Kings. That was it.
I had the spot cleat. Remember the black with the orange? Because that's all.
Now
and then
the
you had to
kids
wear them for
listening
5
are
years.
like, who are these grandma and grandpa?
Right. Actually, I had somebody tell me, like, when a coach switches to wearing all black Adidas boots, that's when you're old. And I'm like, wait a minute, I wear
Those
all
are my
black.
favorite shoes.
I wear all black Cobas to training. They're like, yeah, I hate to tell you, but
You're old,
you're
dude.
transitioning.
Oh, they're coming back though. The new Predators, there's an all white and an all black. So it's everything's cyclical.
Yes.
We'll be back.
So I feel like this is going. We have to do it before. I mean, I don't know how long I haven't looked at my time.
Oh, we're fine.
Got to talk high school.
Yeah.
We got to talk high school, and usually I let you bring it up so you can take the heat. But I feel like so Marin, just go to my daughter who hates it when I do this, but she's a freshman. Thought about it. Could have played for Kirkwood, but she was very steadfast. She was like, nope, I want to be with my team, with the sophomores they're gonna be more the team that stays to play club, doing the showcases, doing the ID camps, and yes, lots of coaches do come. I know that sometimes they're told that they're not, but there is a ton because she got followed by a lot. She was very excited, and I don't love her on social media, but it is the thing. And she had, from us anyway, I don't care wherever she wanted to go, but I think sometimes there's this conception or misconception that, and it has been present, that clubs don't want you to play high school. And I'd love for you to speak about that, one. And two, there's also, we can't deny the fact that there's an extended variable here in Missouri. And that is, girls are currently right now playing high school. And that's really close to the end of GA, ECNL, any USYS, anybody's seasons culminate in June and July, right? For the most part. When you have the girls, the players out from March, April, May, maybe June, it's really hard to get them back for 2 weeks. I was working with a Gallagher girl in Mindset, and she was training 5 days a week to get back into team form to go to their finals. So I think, just to kind of dispel any myths that you can play high school, and it's harder when you're on the girl side of the sports because we need to move that to fall. That would make it a lot easier. I'm just saying, Misha, move it to fall.
Well, I'll be...
Because we play fall in college.
I understand that. I'll be a little devil's advocate across the board here. St. Louis is an outlier also, Chad. I mean, I think you would agree that the girls' high school programs, not all of them clearly, but there are a good 10, 15 schools that are legitimately putting out good product on the field that still has the relationships that are, we heard it from Katie Shields from the horse's mouth. She flat out said, I want girls to play high school soccer.
Yeah, she said she was really bullish about it.
Yeah. And so, again, I'm going to qualify this. St. Louis is not like the rest of the nation. High school soccer still matters here. But as far as the time frame goes, and we've talked about this before, Jen, the girls' college season, when their staffs are fully inundated with league, is in the fall. So the spring season is recruiting season for a lot of these programs. So, there's a lot of things we just threw up on the wall here.
Right.
Why don't we just start with your 101 opinion of high school soccer, and the relationship it has with club either way?
Yeah. I honestly, I don't have a massive opinion on high school soccer because I'm pretty ignorant to it. I don't go and watch. I've watched enough to know that it's not what I do or what we do. But to your point, there's probably some really good coaches out there doing some really good things that I've never, ever, ever seen run a training session, right? So for me to speak on their environment is rather unfair. I don't necessarily want my players to skip high school soccer. I sit in multiple meetings with parents and players, and they tell me this is what I want. And then when I say X, Y, and Z are my dreams, and it's to go to these big universities, and to what your point is, colleges are recruiting more heavily in the spring than they are in the fall when we're playing our club season. That's just a matter of fact. And if that's what you want, then maybe you need to make the sacrifice, is kind of my message to the girls, right? If these schools are going to watch you play 6 times in the month of March, April, and May, or they can watch you 0 times. Those are, so if that's what you want, this is going to help you get there. That is kind of my message. And the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, we've had over 350 schools already watch us this spring, and it's going to get to over 500. And the reality is if those kids didn't skip, then they wouldn't have been seen by those schools. And that's just how it is.
But at the same time, I can just speak personally. I asked Mara, and I was like, what are you going to do? And what's Chad's opinion? She's like, we can do what we want, but this is what in other words, what I'm saying is she felt, and I don't know how any other player, but she felt no pressure to do one way or the other. It was completely her decision.
And that's, I guess, when you ask the question about the relationship, is why is it frowned upon to give the girls a choice? Give the girls another option. So I've heard and seen, I've been mother effed by a lot of high school coaches, and it's like, I'm just providing an option. And by the way, it was asked of me by a player to provide this option. Like, there was a group of 23s that wanted to do it, and we had nothing for them, right? So if you take the context of where I am in my position, like, I have players, and the club has paying customers that are saying, can you provide this for us? And we're saying no.
Meaning the visuals, meaning the exposure?
They didn't want to play high school soccer.
Oh,
They
okay.
wanted an option in the spring. And so
okay.
I was like, okay, so that spring we just had them train with the boys. But then, again, so they had a training environment, but they didn't have
game
games.
Environment,
and they
right.
didn't have college exposure. They didn't have a team. And so I put it together last year. With the help of, I consulted Dave Robertson from Nationals a lot, because they make their kids not play high school soccer.
Right. Yeah, I've talked with one of their parents. They're like, you played soccer? Your girls play high school soccer? I'm like, some of them did. He's like, we don't.
They make them skip. And so it was, again, it's just a choice. And as much as I would say the counter argument that I hear a lot is the social aspect of high school,
sure.
which I totally agree with. And I listened to your podcast with Katie, and I would say Katie's view is, hey, Katie's one of the best coaches I've ever had out. Yeah. She's amazing. I you can see her culture and her style in everything that she does, whether it's on the field or off of it. I would say she's entitled to have a much different opinion. Her college is in St. Louis, right? So, of course, she wants her girls to be part of the culture.
Yeah. And getting to a high school game is a little easier than if you're, and I talked to Derek Burton, and I went to school together when we were younger, and he's at SIUE, and he's like, it can be a little bit difficult for me if I'm doing and I'm training to get out to see a high school game in time. And I'm a little bit further, not a ton further, but a little bit further away. He's like, Katie has, she's in St. Louis. If I want to come see a St. Louis player, high school might not be the place that I can do very easily.
Right.
It's just his opinion on it.
But yeah, I mean, I was chilling all spring before I made this high school spring season. I wasn't traveling every other weekend. And there are players. The social side of it is super important. And I would never say that I can compete with the hundreds of fans you have watching you play in that regard. But there are also kids who, again, they want to play pro. They want to do this, and they know, and they just are kind of more competitive, and they want just a more intense environment on the day-to-day. Maybe they don't even want to play professionally. They just want to be challenged a bit more in terms of the training environment. And then there's also the kids who unfortunately get bullied.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be around their high school students because it's a bad environment in that regard as well.
Well, you're touching on a point that I've tried to make in a lot of these conversations. And in fact, this morning, driving to the airport with my son Beckett, he's heading down to GA Cup at this time. I said something about, hey, you excited? You looking forward to it? He's like, yeah, it's just he wasn't talking about the games. He's like, I just love he goes, I love being on the sidelines. He goes, it's so cool to watch other teams celebrate another team's PK victory, and he's given these examples of describing the culture, and I've seen it, but I haven't been able to describe it to the people that I'm debating with about, high school culture in your community, which is, look, I'm 100% behind. I had that, and I get it. But these kids today, due to, and now this is going to make us all sound old, social media and all this other stuff, like their definition of community, their definition of culture is largely digitally presented to them.
Yep.
So when it comes to these environments and experiences from a soccer perspective, you go to a GA national tournament, it's not like you're going out to Fenton, Community Park watching the old Voyager tournament.
Right.
Fenton City Park, man.
Same thing.
Come on.
You know what?
It's a
But you know what I'm
city.
saying? Like, you've got Adidas banners everywhere, and it's a true event.
Maren was stunned.
So-
Her face was like, "Oh my gosh."
So I don't
Yeah.
want to. I don't want to get in the weeds and try and naysay culture one way or the other because I believe that the culture value prop is 50-50. And high school coaches don't understand it because they're not at these events, and club coaches don't understand it because they're like, well, it's look at what we're giving them. So I don't want to talk about that. What I want to talk about though is the idea of ultimatum, of choice, because in Missouri, St. Louis in particular, Misha, I'm gonna start there.
Don't even get. I mean, we had parents, by the way, lobby for change, and they
Misha
said no.
is the one that creates the repercussion if a kid is to play at a club event during said blackout window for preseason or whatever. Your perspective, your position. Do you have an ultimatum within your team, just so that we can get it out in the open? And what is your opinion when it comes to choose?
Yeah, no, I absolutely do not have an ultimatum, which, again, it frustrates me because I've heard, and again, I'm talking to kids, so I'm not in the meeting with them and their high school coaches, but if you play club this year, you're never welcome back on this team, like from high school coaches to kids. And I don't know if that's true or not, right? I'm not in those conversations. I've never once said that to a kid. And again, it was to provide an option, to provide a choice, and to provide a choice that hopefully aligns with what their goals are, right? Is the whole reason I did it, and I started it, and it's in its second year, and it's done really well. But I hope everyone leaves my conversations like what Mo leaves it as. I just try to educate, and I try to equip them with knowledge to make a decision that aligns with, like I said, their goals. And if they, we had one who came out and hung out and did Spencer with us last weekend. Like, someone was like, "You're not on this spring team. Get out of here." Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
You went high school.
I've seen one of our goalkeepers out, and I'm like, oh, I give them a hug. I'm excited to see them. Like, I've seen, I saw my U19 captain at the facility the other day. Like, so.
And these are all girls who are playing high school right
Correct,
now.
yeah,
so,
that are. And I'm not one to sugarcoat things, though. Like, again, I would say I am very transparent with the three groups of kids that I'm really transparent and like unapologetically honest to are. If you're a sophomore, I truly believe that it's in your best interest for your recruiting to play for the spring team.
Yeah, because that's the selection window.
Right. If you're an uncommitted junior, I will tell them, like, this is really your last shot to be seen before they move on to the next class, right? So for my uncommitted 25s, I was very honest with them, like, you either need to get committed by the end of February, or you probably need to consider skipping high school, right? And again, I'm not giving you an ultimatum. I'm saying, but this is really going to harm your ability to get committed, because by the time you come back and you play in this big event in June, they're going to be looking at the 26s.
Yeah, you're mapping out the landscape.
Right. And then I would say for the seniors, that's the last one. It's like, I had a lot of 23s come back and say I was ill-prepared for this, and I got buried at the end of a 28-player roster. And I wish I was And so again, those were the three. That there was some seniors on the U19s where I was like, hey, you know what? I really don't think, like, where you're currently at, I don't think you're ready to go and impact a Division I college soccer program. I would think about it, and that's it. I just say think about it. And then some of them, though, I would say I've been very honest as well. Is some of my girls do come back as better players. To speak on like what Katie said, like
as
an
far
Emily,
as the high school experience,
and Emily
playing.
Gaby, like
Come back as leaders, a little bit more mature.
And they do what's required of them on their own to stay sharp in maybe some of the areas that are deficient in their high school environment. I know a lot of them are going to do performance training once a week. They're doing private sessions. They're training on their own with their own bag of soccer balls. They're still coming out to the facility and asking me. I had a girl playing high school soccer text me, "Can I grab a bag of balls out of your office at noon today?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, I don't know what she's doing, but she's borrowing my stuff to train, hopefully, right? So some of them, there are a handful that I would say I gave them. I was like, "Yeah, here's the door. Like you always do great, whether that's her high school environment or what they're doing on their own. But they come back and they're sharp and they're fit and they're not mentally fatigued, and it's great. And then there's others who come back and they can barely walk, and I'm like,
because you mean they're playing like 5 to 6 days a week,
and they don't get breaks even when they ask for them, right? So there's no blanket answer. Like, you know, to your point, there's some some high school programs who are probably doing it really, really well.
So, zooming out then, knowing kind of the, I'm going to call it what it is. There's animosity between the two camps. Do you feel that the legacy is creating the issue? Do you feel that communication is creating the issue? Why do you think it's such a big deal here that there's this proverbial standoff between club and high school opinions?
I think to your guys' point, a lot of it is just it's the timing of it, right? I had a very talented 23 class that took forever to get recruited. And I'm talking, there were GA clubs that we were beating the brakes off of, and their kids are flying off the shelves in August and September and October. And I had a team that went to a national quarterfinal that ultimately all of the kids who wanted to play college soccer went and played college soccer, and all of them played Division I except for there was one Division II commit in that class. But they were exponentially more talented than a lot of the kids that were going before them. So to your point, like there's a lot of things that Misha could do, like moving it to the fall.
Yeah, Lindsey Bryant said that they talked with
we tried.
And
we've tried with the
or
Girls
to give
Academy.
them that window where there's a 2-week window that I didn't know that the fall gets that the spring doesn't get. I don't understand why there's not this kind of crossover window at least to say you can do, and this doesn't negatively impact your high school.
Physical logistics would be impossible between football, men's soccer already, and I mean, look,
move football.
That's not going to happen.
Have you heard of the SEC? Put them in the winter. It'll be fine.
There are some challenges, but also we've asked the Girls Academy League to move their big Champions Cup up event 1 week so that we can attend, right? And we're still in communication for that for next year, hopefully. But then the petition, right? What you were talking about, like a lot of girls would choose to. The issue is a lot of these big events are in December, and then they go January without an event, February, March, April, May, middle of June. So you're going 6 months without a major recruiting event. Even if you gave some of those kids that won in the end of February, or the Champions Cup event, that was the first week of March. If you allowed them to play in that. That's what Marn
didn't want to miss,
if you allowed them to play in that, yes, they're still not getting Jefferson Cup the following week. They're not getting the GA Cup or the GA Showcase in April, but they got those 256 schools that watched us play in late February. And then you would probably have more kids that said, you know what, I don't get the other 250, but I got the first 250. I competed in a great, cool event that was awesome, and the culture of it was great. I can make the choice to go play high school soccer in peace, right? And it's just not happening. Nobody's budging. Like, we're trying. And I would say there's no animosity on my end. Like I try to tell the kids, it's your decision. Here's the information. Make it. If not, I'll see you when you're done. And good luck. I want you to do well.
Do you ever go watch high school games?
I try, but it's hard with I have a session at 5 p.m. every day. All right, so I'll get out to a few. Right, if there's any 3:30 kickoffs, I'll try to make it out where like I have 4 on one team, 4 on another. Go watch 8 of my girls play, and I can only realistically stay till halftime before.
Do
I
you
have
stay
to leave.
neutral, or do you root for any?
I don't root for it. I will say
No, he's like, don't get hurt.
There
Don't
was
get hurt.
one season I had like 7 Fox Warriors, so I was like, give me my Fox Warriors sweatshirt. Like, I try because again, I want the girls to feel supported in their decision as well, and they're unless they drastically get worse, which isn't usually not drastic, right? They're gonna still be on the team when they come back, right? And I try to make them like.
But you're right. I mean, I noticed it with the 08s, so I'll speak. It's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But last year when they got back together, it took a bit, right? It took a bit it was fun to see all of them get back together. By the way, they missed each other. I think it was good in some ways because they got a little bit away and they missed it. But the synergy they had before they left for high school, and it has nothing to do with the high school training. It just happens to do with not training together all the time. It took a bit to get that back. It took a minute. It took a little bit to kind of find the mojo again, find the rhythm, find everybody again on the field. And so I think it's kind of a natural byproduct. It doesn't matter. And they all went to different high schools. Some of them went to, were delayed in coming because their school went really far. They were on a really good high school team. So it has nothing to do with the high school training. It just has to do with not being together and training together a lot of times.
Well, but that's a team issue because those kids that were running into the state tournaments and extended, I mean, they were winning. So they were learning, they were developing as an individual player. So I think that this is one of those figure 8 discussions that I don't think is going to go away. I firmly, at this point...
It would if we put soccer in the fall for the girls.
It just wouldn't happen unless it just...
There's facilities everywhere anymore. Really? There's soccer park. There's tons of facilities.
But we all know the same people. Right. The ADs are not going to do that.
Well, that's dumb. I mean,
look. There's a lot of things that are dumb.
There's my PhD opinion. I don't have PhD, but come on.
So moving forward, Coach Chad at Lufuse, what's next? How do you improve upon the GA environment for your girls? Are you expanding your college Rolodex? Are you expanding your film with them? Is there the mental coaching, things like that? What's next? Because you guys are always in the game of ratcheting up.
We did mental coaching.
Yeah, I was first thing out of my mouth is Jen did multiple sessions with our entire platform. I would say the next. Are you talking about for Lufuse Athletics specifically in that question?
I would ask you personally, your team, the level at which you're coaching right now, because obviously Lufuse is an organization. Mm-hmm. There's a whole spectrum of players within that.
Right.
So just talking about at the top 5%ers, right? Okay. How do you improve upon an already successful run up to this point? What's next?
Yeah, so part of the evolution of our Girls Academy program is this spring season, right? We're coming up on 2 weeks now where we're going to play 2 colleges in back-to-back weeks. We're going to play Wash U, and then we're going to play Fontbonne. We were supposed to play MLS next tomorrow, but
I don't know. Is it in the calendar, Chad?
It's not because the game got canceled.
I'm looking.
The game got. But we weren't able to, so we'll play 2 of our boys' teams. So I mean, that's part of the evolution of moving on from hopefully a club who is sending teams to quarterfinals and semifinals and hopefully winning more national championships, right? So to her point, it is hard. It's very, very challenging to squeeze in everything you need to, A, before a big recruiting event in June, and B, for an event where results matter. It's win or go home at some point, right? Because you get kids back and some of them have played 3 weeks longer than the others. Some of them were playing 90 minutes every single day. Some of them or every single game. Some of them, their high school coaches give them days off. Some of them they don't. So you have this whole mess of can I get them fit enough to play in these high-level club games, or am I going to run them, or am I going to run them to the point of exhaustion or injury, right? And then you can't get it all in 10 practices, 14 practices, and we're also doing ID sessions in that time, by the way. So that's part of it. Was the evolution of the spring season was part of it. And I would say what's next for us is playing more ECNL clubs. And we have done that this spring already. Our U13s and U14s, while we were away in Florida, went 5-0 against 5 ECNL clubs. And then we played 3 ECNL clubs in Virginia with our older age groups, and we're playing Gallagher a couple times in the spring, playing Sporting Blue Valley a couple times in the spring, playing KC Athletics. And then we're already in talks with Chicago Inter and KC Athletics for next preseason. So I would say to get consistent, more high-level games on our calendar is what's next for us, right? Iron sharpens iron, and that's a whole separate discussion. I mean, you can say that high school and club have their battles, but I mean, within the top platforms in the club game, there's a lot of childish behavior going on, right? That needs to be, like, we should all be trying to help these kids get better, not really competing against each other. You know what I mean? And that's just not the case. I think there are some things that both the ECNL and GA could do to. Why not do an event where they all play against each other?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
wouldn't that be fun? I think it'd be fun.
Money.
Wait, no,
I know the answer.
Why? No, I don't. What does that mean? Isn't that more money? What?
No, because if you have ECNL and GA doing something together, that means the money is split.
Oh, for crying out loud.
But no, I mean, look, I don't like it either.
Yeah.
I'm just being the realist, because I get to watch. I don't have any daughters, but I'm watching these two leagues kind of go through their iteration and development and growth, et cetera. And it's the same player pool, but there are two different organizations, so it's not going to change. I mean, that's the one thing. On the boys' side, you have MLS Next, right? I mean, we can call it what it is. It's gobbled up the true 1%. Yep. Below that, ECNL is arguably, 1B or number 2.
Okay.
And then it's just, the wild, wild west. But on the girls' side, it's literally
the 2 at the top.
A 1A and, 1A and B who flip-flop between claiming A and B status. Mm-hmm. So ECNL is growing faster. I mean, we all are reading.
It's been around longer.
Yeah,
right.
we're all reading the same articles.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's my Swiss take on it. I think it's a good problem to have, because that means the value, the eyeballs, the scouting, etc. on the women's side, on the girls' side of the game, it's growing. Because
Right.
if you have this level of animosity and competition for those best, that's good. That means that there are a lot of girls that are that good. Because you go back 5 years, go back 10 years.
Does having academy, we don't have like NWSL academies yet, like the MLS has, does that change the landscape if that happens?
No, because I think that, so NWSL is 12, how many
They're
teams?
14 now, yeah. There's still not enough teams. There's another league coming too, but I didn't, just like pro academies, if we stick there, we don't have that right now. You got ECNL and GA, and then you go to college and go pro. There's no USL. There's none of these.
Yeah.
If you have an academy system, does that change what we're talking about?
I think it does if you have like the platform NWSL next, right? But for instance, HTX was partnered with Dash. You know what I mean? But so that's a club in our conference. But they played under the GA umbrella, right? And there are ECNL clubs that have NWSL affiliates but they're not. They're under the ECNL umbrella, right?
So
I think it would be different if they.
It also becomes an economic issue, because you look at. I've heard that the rough cost for an MLS Next team is anywhere from $250 to $400K a year total cost, right? Because it's not pay to play anymore.
Right.
They are comped,
right?
Under the. Okay, so if you go to NWSL and you have only 14 clubs, you can double that number, because you are going to have to travel so much more.
Good point.
So
there's just not enough of them around yet.
No, so it's a geography issue at the same time. So
all right.
Look, I think if the glass is half full, look at the quality of the play. Look at NWSL is growing. Look at a girl like Alex Pfeiffer, who came up through this type of a system, and there's going to be more. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And
Right, there's Kimi Asano from the GA who just got picked up by the Wave. She hurts me personally. She was playing 3 years up against my U05s. She's an 08. She scored 2 goals in the second half. We were up 1-0 at halftime.
You're like,
we lost
what?
2-1. And I was talking to USA scouts, and they're like, this 08, I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no way there's a kid 3 years younger than us that's about to. And she, if any of my 2023 center backs are listening, they'll know exactly what play I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, it's happening, right? I would say, to kind of argue your point, is not every event has to be on the same weekend on different coasts of the country.
Totally.
Right? So, like,
Yeah.
I do agree that there's a big player pool and there's a ton of talent. There's some very high quality teams in the GA and in the ECNL, but there's also a very watered down product at the bottom of both of those platforms as well. And if they did back-to-back weekends in Dallas, it's great for a college coach to go to, but when one's in Virginia and one's in and one's in California,
Same weekend.
yeah, same weekend, you're really putting a strain on their budgets and what they can do. And I've heard that from a lot of college programs. They have to map out. It's wild how far in advance they have to map out what they're doing to recruit, like, because of the challenges it presents.
Yeah. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, because that's how good the quality has become.
Telling
You know?
you, just put the high school girls in the fall. All solved. It is. Don't roll your eyes at me.
Well, I mean,
We play when I get done in high school. Came off the spring, and then Lindenwood's starting in the fall. And I'm like, this is weird. And they're
Right.
like, no, because
How many
most
high
of the country
schools-
plays soccer in the fall.
How many high schools in the St. Louis metropolitan area have the same coach for girls and boys soccer?
Okay,
lot.
well, we have also a lot of untapped coach resources. Too. I'm just saying, there's a lot of women that we highlight that have a lot of experience.
In your perfect world, we have 15 new soccer-specific high school stadiums, so the girls can do it. And
train them all together.
I get
and then,
that.
go
However,
out.
we live in America, and that's not a perfect world. So, hey, Chad, we've gobbled up a lot of your time. We know you've got yard work to do, according to our pre-mic talk. Thanks for joining, man.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Of course.
You love talking about high school soccer, don't you?
And listen, I was very flattered when Jen texted me. Any chance to talk about soccer, not high school soccer specifically, in our program, because I am within it every day, and I'm probably the biggest critic of our program and our staff and myself included. And but I do think that the girls and the families, like I said, I complimented the parents. I said they're not crazy. I do think we're doing a really good job, and so are the girls, and so are the parents. And I know the U19s won't believe me when I say that. I'm pretty hard on the girls, but it's been a really fun first year running our girls academy program. I'm looking forward to more. So I appreciate you guys giving me the platform to speak on it just a bit.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
It was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
It was fun.
Jen, what's your plans the rest of this weekend here?
I'm going to eat some pizza here at Mellow Mushroom and have an adult beverage because we're done. And got a city game this weekend and whatever's in the calendar, Chad.
Hey, you're off this weekend.
I told Estella and Hilda I'd give you trouble. They're so excited.
Hey, like, review, follow, share, all that fun stuff. Make sure you follow.
Yeah, I can't.
Soccer Mom Sunday on
You
all
only
those.
had one beverage, too. Look at that. Can't talk.
We don't have our usual
Our bartender guy is not here.
Maybe next time. But hey, Chad, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Good luck with the rest of the season, and I'm sure we'll see each other on the sideline somewhere.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Take
guys.
care, Jen.